Hey graduates, wagwan, wagwan. Boy, I tell you. Is it Dennis Brown's song that sings, sitting and watching fools fight themselves when they should be thinking of getting to know themselves while life goes on? Everyone's got to stand strong. You can't surrender, no, 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 no. Trust and believe. It has been an eventful couple of days. And it coming like say, HTK got goat mouth, me telling you, a whole heap of things me say. As me say it, I saw it happen. Was I not just speaking about this yesterday? That if you're coming after corruption, you should come out with full receipts and give no opportunity for those whom you are accusing to have loopholes to escape the allegations. Indeed, isn't it interesting how that theme word loopholes has resurfaced yet again today? I smile to myself as they continue to end up in a cycle where they basically battle each other instead of focusing. In every team, it's really important that you have structure. If there's a leader, the leader has to have clear boundaries. And those within that team should clearly respect those boundaries to the point where each person should recognize what their role is within that team and play their part accordingly. Now, it is when we have those boundaries crossed that we end up with confusion, mutiny even. And the aims and objectives of such a team becomes undermined quite quickly. If you are going after someone on the basis of corruption, lack of integrity, dishonesty, it's really important that you structure your evidence systematically, not just pointing out transactions in a random fashion, but linking them to the actions of the person that you are accusing. Without that counterbalance, the argument is topsy-turvy. Random evidence without clear links is like throwing out a whole bunch of needles and landing them in a haystack and expecting the public to find them. And the only thing that you will be successful about is creating a noise. But the unsuccessful part will be the fact that you've just created chaos on top of chaos. The public may hear you, but they will not follow your line of argument, nor will you convince the necessary people of what it is that you're seeking to achieve. So in the act of tearing down corruption, there is absolutely no room for an unbalanced argument. Unbalanced arguments give rooms for your opposition to simply find a loophole, jump through it, and dance off into the sunset. Passion cannot rule over logic. Opinion can never succeed over fact. Not when it comes to transactions and when it comes to checks and balances. When one of your own team members points out that your entire motive is full of holes, how in goodness name are the public supposed to be convinced by what it is that you're presenting to them? Tidy up your own house before you seek to tidy up others. You are out of sync and your disharmony is comical to the public. The loose ends means that counteraction is a must, and in fact it will swing in the favor of the opponent. It is obvious to me that such actions are blinded by personal vendettas, as opposed to being focused on pure logic and evidence that will bring the point home. Now, how is it that your informant had no idea about these things prior to now? Why is it that your informant chose to come forward at this opportune moment to make such revelations? To what point is this individual entangled in the dealings that you're claiming are corrupt and fraudulent of the public? In fact, your revelations has cast doubt on your source. And fundamentally, the essential voices of the people who need to be heard have remained silent. If donors have no problem, why should the public consider this to be a case that's worthy of pursuit? You cannot pick sense out of confusion. Graduates, emotions are running high all over the internet. And you know what I'm realizing? That you do have some really, really sad individuals out there who truly have nobody to speak to on a personal level about the things that really matter to them. And so they end up coming to the internet and spilling their soul because somehow that's the only place they will get a voice and the only place that they will actually get heard. It's a shame that people insist on taking their personal lives and presenting it to the public, be it issues with family members, partners, I don't know, children. I don't know why it is that they have to do it. But unfortunately, some people are in fact emotionally deprived within their household, in that they have not got an outlet. They have not got a support system that's strong enough to relieve their tensions. And so the internet gets full access to their vulnerabilities. And I'm not talking just about a glimpse, I'm talking about a full glare. I truly understand why it is that when certain words are said by certain social media personalities, it really slices people to the core. You know, words like stagnancy or because they were raised with no love. Many of these interfering people on social media who deliberately interfere with others who don't even see them are really victims of fragmented relationships. They have got such a broken household that they take out all of their frustrations on other people. When they see other people's successes, it really irks them because they believe that they should be the ones to be there. And because of whatever circumstance or whatever holding back they've had in their own lives, they cannot celebrate the wonderful achievements of other people. They look at it enviously, and it creates such bitterness and jealousy on social media. And the only way they can cope with that is to tear down that which they have not yet achieved. And notice I said yet, because all of us have the same 24 hours. We may not all have the same circumstances, but certainly if we had ambition, drive, and determination, every day will be a progress to the last. And that in itself will bring some sort of satisfaction. But some of us insist on having the wrong priorities, paying attention to what other people have, how other people celebrate their achievements, how other people bask in their glory, and see that as a negative thing, meaning that, oh, they think they're going places, so that means I'm not going somewhere. Incorrect. Instead of looking at it that, look, they say they're going places, maybe I can also get there. They are instead looking at that as a show-off, or somebody is being better than another person. That is because they themselves suffer from deep insecurities of how little they have achieved in their own life, or it is a reflection of how they've been treated throughout their entire childhood. They've always been regarded as the black sheep, the one who will amount to nothing. So when others are celebrating their achievements, it is a reminder of all the trauma they experienced throughout their developing years. So should we dim our lights so that others can shine? Absolutely not. In fact, it is really important that for those at the top that you look behind and pull up others behind you. It is really important that you share all of your methods and your tricks and tips for success, because it is definitely selfish to hold on to that position and not plant seeds in the lives of others. But let me tell you this, graduates. In order for those seeds to yield fruit, that land has to be fertile enough to receive those seeds. And if you are bitter, if you are dark and jealous in your spirit, it is impossible for somebody to sow a seed in your life. In fact, you will be shut out of such a blessing. No one will sow seeds amongst thorns. You have to break off of all of your evil habits, clear your hearts of weeds, in order that they may be prepared for the seeds of righteousness. Jamaican people like to say, break up your fallow ground, but actually the word is fallow. Break up your fallow ground is about preparing your minds to bring forth fruit. And while in the Bible, metaphorically, this is about the mind of man preparing to take on the word of God so that they may grow in the spirit, when we transfer that to real life, it really is about opening up your mind so that A clear conscience can evolve into a space where you can think, develop, and grow. But you see, graduates, a lot of these people are a product of their environment. Raised with hatred and spite, many of them have had parents who pit their siblings against each other through preferential treatment, loving one child more than the other. Such kind of injustice and imbalance is going to create a very insecure spirit, a spirit of bad mind, envy, and grudge, a coveting heart, a yearning for acceptance, and a resentment for being neglected or excluded. Because they have been neglected and excluded all their developing years, when as adults they come across similar things where they are rejected by somebody else in their social, personal, or even professional space, the reaction is very erratic because this rejection has tapped into a childhood trauma. Unbridged hurt yields huge resentments and creates even more enmity as people go through in life. It is a shame that so many of us are unhealed from childhood traumas and that they affect our adulthood relationships in such a way that many people suffer in terms of sustaining healthy and long-lasting relationships with others. Many on social media are like this. And I have come to accept that it's truly not their fault. It helps to keep me focused so that I don't end up, going off on one when any of them try to be disrespectful. I just shake my head in pity and move on. Purely because it is pointless breaking an already broken soul. And really, we genuinely all have our crosses to bear, so why make the burden of another person's even more than they have to carry? But you see, some will not respect such grace. No. Some will insist on tormenting others despite the fact that they are full of traumatic wounds yet unhealed. Some will insist on poking the tiger. So when the social media that we know rises up against it, then they have nobody to blame but themselves for whatever consequence meets them. To a degree, graduates, a lot of us are dysfunctional. But to a greater degree, some are more dysfunctional than most. And those few really stick out like a sore thumb. I mean, who goes as far as to compete with a birthday? How petty and trivial can one be? It must be horrible to consistently exist in someone else's shadow and never step out into the light. I swear, such an individual must have some kind of circus going on mentally, where at the heart of the circus they are the ringmaster, and everybody else is some kind of sideshow in that situation. It is in fact a real personality disorder. Such is delusions of grandeur. That red ribbon must have really sent a blood vessel popping. That gleaming white machine must have really blinded their eyes, or what's left of it. How those 4 alloy wheels must have run tracks over their already broken and beaten hearts. But you see, this is what happens when you waste time in the pursuits of others as opposed to the pursuits of your own goals, dreams, and aspirations. Remember, they say small minds discuss people, average minds discuss events, while great minds discuss ideas. But don't get me wrong, everybody has the ability to be small-minded in one way or another. But it is really important that you rise above that and know that there's a time and place for everything. At some point, you have got to reflect on your own goals and your own dreams and stop being consumed by the actions of individuals. But no, instead of driving yourself forward, you insist on driving yourself into the ground, blocking your own highway and sitting permanently at a red light instead of moving forward in a progressive manner. All puns intended. Do you know, though, graduates, one thing I can say for sure is that most of us, if not all of us, would love to see some kind of justice brought out if there is any kind of corruption taking place, particularly where the poor are being targeted and the vulnerable are being used. Nobody will stand on the side of corruption. But my thing is this: if you are fighting such a righteous fight, why would you warn whoever it is that you are trying to expose? Why would you drop clues about your step by step progress? Why would you not keep your cards close to your chest? It's almost as though you're doing it for theatrics rather than for a result. It is the one who has the most intent who acts in silence and moves without recognition. When you pounce on the unexpected, you are most likely to have your prey. And if you announce your arrival, the thief will surely get away. Anyway, this is your girl, Head Teacher K.